In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to calculate the wavelengths of the atomic emissions for the hydrogen atom. And to do so, I'm going to be using this equation, which is the Rydberg equation, which says 1 over the wavelength for these transitions is equal to the Rydberg constant, R in infinity, which has a value of 1.097 times 10 to the minus 2 inverse nanometers, times 1 divided by NF squared, where NF is the final electron energy level, minus 1 divided by Ni squared, where Ni is the initial electron energy level. So in order to enter this formula, I'll click on the cell where I'd like to enter the formula, which is cell C3, and tap there, which brings up my box, and I have a few different options. And to enter a formula, you want this equal sign, and first I have to enter the value for the Rydberg constant, so I need a parentheses. I'll say 1.097 times 10 raised to the negative 2 power, end parentheses, times, and then I need another parentheses, 1 divided by my final electron energy level. But I want to use the cell where that is located. So the cell where that value is located is cell A3. So I click on cell A3 and I need to square that, minus 1 divided by the initial electron energy level. And again, I want the cell where that value is located, which is cell B3. So click on B3 and square that, end parentheses, and then to accept the formula, I just use the check mark button. Now I want to enter this formula into all of these cells, but I don't have to enter it as I just did. I can just copy and paste the formula. So I click on this cell, I select copy, I highlight the rest of the cells where I'd like the formula to go, and I hit paste, and I say paste formulas. And you may or may not be in scientific notation depending on which format you have used in your spreadsheet. So in order to change the format, you go to the format button, and if it says, so I could be in numbers, and you may be in what's called number format, which would look like that. So if you want to switch to scientific notation format, you go over to scientific, and then you have to select the right number of decimal places. And because our Rydberg constant had 4 sig figs, we want our inverse wavelength to also have 4 sig figs. So we go down to 3 decimal places. Now, the next thing we want to do is calculate wavelength. So we don't want just inverse wavelength, we want to know what our wavelength is. So I have to enter another formula. And to do that, double tap, equal sign. And my formula now is just simply 1 divided by inverse wavelength, my check mark, and I will then copy this, and I'm going to paste it all the way down, and I'm going to paste formulas. And what you can see here is that our first 4 values automatically came up with having 4 significant figures, which is what we want. And you may or may not have 4 sig figs there. So again, if you had to change the format and the number of sig figs, you go to the format button, you go to number, and you change the number of decimal places. So here in these first 4 values, we want no decimal places so that we would have 4 sig figs. For the next set of values, we do need to adjust this. And so we want to go to 4 sig figs, so we need to have 1 decimal place. And then for our last 3 values, we need to go to 2 decimal places so that we also have 4 significant figures. And this last column is meant for text. You will have to decide what the region of the spectrum is. So you have to decide, do these wavelengths here lie in the ultraviolet region, in the infrared region, or in the visible region? And if they're in the visible region, what color are they? So in order to enter text into a cell, you just go to the T button for text. And if I decided this was ultraviolet, I could just type UV here. If I decided, conversely, if I decided no, I think these wavelengths are in the infrared region, I could type IR. And for anything that you decide is in the visible region, you want to type vis for visible. And then you also want to say what color it is. So if you decide that it's red, if you look it up and it's red, you would type red. So that will be up to you to determine whether these wavelengths lie in the infrared, the visible, or the UV region. So good luck with your calculations in lab.